my beautiful people, and guess what? Today is the penultimate episode of Christians in July. And for today's video, I thought I'd show you all a Christian cartoon that I'm sure you have not heard of. Ladies and gentlemen and others, today I want to talk about the Torchlighters. Now, what exactly is the Torchlighters? Well, the Torchlighters is actually an animated series that was released straight to video in the mid 2000s. It is a Christian series that ran for about 22 episodes according to this YouTube playlist, and all of the episodes are available on YouTube. And judging by this first episode, or judging by what I was seeing throughout all of the little images and the general art style, I assumed that this would be a show that did nothing more but recite stories from the Bible. And what I was going to do was I was going to watch the first episode, and if it was just going to do that, then I was going to pick a completely different cartoon for this week. But it did actually not do that. It told original Christian stories. So, that's interesting. Very much so indeed. This episode in particular is the Jim Elliot story. And so, you got this episode. It opens up in in 1955. And so you got these guys are going on a plane, and then they crash. They don't crash, actually. They actually land nicely. And you could clearly tell that this animation looks very, very bad. Even for direct-to-video, cheaply produced mid-2000s, it is not well done animation. The drawings looks like something out of a coloring book. The characters move like they're like freaking, I don't know, like it's South Park, but it's not intentional. And Christ, the freaking lip syncing is just awful. Like some of the worst lip syncing I have ever seen in an animated project. Horrible. But something else very unique about this is that it has some good old-fashioned racism. Before the title card, some good old-fashioned. And, this video that was uploaded to YouTube 4 years ago, mind you, geared for children's 8 to 12, did not give us this warning, hey, it might be a little racist. And, this is 2005. There's no excuse. So, I don't know what's all that about. And all of this was before the freaking opening logo showed up. The heroes of the faith, the Torchlighters. Now, why is this show called the Torchlighters in particular? My assumption is because they're lighting the torch of God. Because what else could it be? But he starts about with this grandpa. He's showing us some ads. Showing us some ads so they can make money off the Lord. But yeah, so it starts. We got this wrestling ring. We cut back to like 10 years ago. And we're at this college where these two guys are very aggressively wrestling each other. And one of them is like, hey, I know you're trying to become a nice, successful lawyer, but you should be a minister instead. Which, I know, I get the idea. Like, you want to be a minister, you're a devout Christian, and that's what you want to do with your life is spread the word. I get it. But It's clearly not what this guy wants to do. And we don't know if he's Christian or not at this point. So, for all we know, he could be just as devoted a Christian. He's just not a minister and not a preacher and is just using the gifts that God gave him. Like, the thing is, like, not everybody has to be a preacher in order to go out and spread the word, you know? Sometimes, I hear that sometimes somebody could just be a guy. Someone could just be a normal guy who just does stuff and is a devoted Christian, you know? They don't have to be going door to door and going on mission trips to like friggin' South Korea or whatever just to, I don't know, justify being a good Christian. But like, this guy, he's clearly just using his law gifts that God gave him. Meanwhile, this naked guy is just saying, "Hey, you shouldn't do that. You should go on my path. This is my path. Maybe you should do mine instead of yours." Yeah, that's just a really annoying factor. Just the 6 minutes into the episode, and then okay, we got these idiots that stop their car on the friggin' train tracks, which what? Okay, like why are you even that close to the train tracks to begin with? Like you're clearly going off road. So like why did you pull all the way up to the train tracks? I mean, granted, the car stops running, but why did you pull all the way up to the train tracks if you knew that the car wouldn't do it? And lo and behold, a train comes and they get hit. Well, they don't get hit, they get out of the car, but the car gets hit. And, they take it as a miracle from God that they didn't die in that crash. Which, I feel like God didn't have anything to do with that. Like, yeah, it's good that they're alive, but you were the dummies who drove on the train tracks, and it's your own luck. Like you just so happened to get out of the car. So like, then they go off to Mexico. They go off to Mexico. They hitchhike their way to the entirety of Mexico. Okay, I don't think that's how that works, but they did it. This guy, he's preaching to these kids. They're on a mission trip. He's preaching to the kids about Noah's Ark, and the kids are just okay, and they're like they're talking about what God wants them to do, and this is where I just want to state on just how bad this voice acting is. This is like some really awful voice acting. Like, there's community theater level acting, and then there's just grabbing some random guy from your church and just have them say a line. Have them be the cast. Because, like, I know there is, like, this church that makes Christian movies, and they just hire people from the church to do the movie. And you can tell because they're not good actors or directors or anything like that. And I feel like that's what this show is pretty much. That's what the Torchlighters is. They did nothing but hire out people from a church and just said, here, make a cartoon. And this was the best they could do. Although I will admit, like, in terms of like the backgrounds, it's not terrible. It's just these character designs, the animation itself, and the voice acting that's just awful. Plus some really jarring story beats where it suddenly turns into a freaking slasher movie where you got this woman just running away from people getting stabbed, and it's like, what is going on here? And it keeps cutting back and forth between their conversation, and it's like, okay, what? Like, it's such a tonal whiplash. It jumps all over the place. And and okay, it's an ad right now. And they nobody in this freaking show, nobody here says anything that a person would say. They speak entirely in Bible quotes and just morals. None of the characters here are inherently flawed. At least none of the protagonists are. They are all expected to do good things because that's what the good Lord would want, you know? There aren't any mistakes, aren't any stakes, aren't any trials or anything like that that these characters have to go through. And that, to me, just makes a boring show. That is a boring story. Like, the character has nothing to go through. The characters have, like, no stakes or arcs or anything like that outside of, oh, will they follow the Lord? And it's a Christian show, so you know the answer is yes. And oh my god, it's just insulting, you know? Clearly these these shows are made with the intention of trying to capitalize Christians. They are made with the intention of getting Christians money. What makes you think that Christian streaming services will charge an obscene amount? Look at that Christian show that Butch Hartman made, The Garden. And the fact is that, like, nobody likes this stuff. Like when's the last time a Christian household decided to put on the Torchlighters when they could just watch VeggieTales if they want to show their kids the good Christian cartoons? Like, what's the deal? It's not even that the show has a good Christian moral. It's that it's very obnoxious with it, where with every scene, in every minute, they try to squeeze in something, anything about the Christian moral, about how great God is, and about how good He's going to be to you. And it's just, we get it. The whole reason we're watching this is because it's Christian. We know how good God is. And that is just one major flaw with most of these types of Christian media in general. They are clearly marketed and made in a way to appeal to Christians, but the type of morals that they have seem to be a seem to be designed in a way to where you have to be not Christian to under even like grasp it. I want to say grasp, but more like, if you're not Christian, then they're trying to say it to you when no atheist or anyone of a different religion would willingly want to seek a movie like that out, or a show, or anything like that. And this is far than just a problem with the Torchlighters in particular. This is a problem with the grand majority of the Pure Flix films. It's a problem with tons of those other like contemporary Christian films that come out, like War Room. And it is a problem with basically every single Christian piece of media that isn't widely available. Like, if something is just released straight to VHS or DVD, chances are the only people that are going to watch it will be the people who are already aware of the moral and already have it in their hearts. I mean, just look at stuff like VeggieTales, like The Prince of Egypt, like Ten Commandments, and even a show we talked about this month, which I didn't have a lot of nice things to say about, mainly because it was the pilot, but Dave and Goliath. All of those are Christian properties that are fondly remembered and are generally received to be good, and that is because they take their Christian morals and their Christian stories and flip and turn them into something that can be viewable to everyone, even if you have no desire to fulfill that faith. It also helps the fact that they are widely distributed by major studios and that they have industry professionals backing them with pretty big portfolios. Like, as we mentioned before, Dave and Goliath was created by Art Clokey, the creator of Gumby. Prince of Egypt was made by a bunch of people at DreamWorks Animation, and of course, Jeffrey Katzenberg and Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. Ten Commandments had a bunch of big name actors at the time, and while VeggieTales was definitely the most amateur-ish because it didn't really have a big professional at the time who was working on it, it did become a massive franchise, and it is currently owned by Universal, and they're still pumping out things in that franchise. So there you go. And all of this goes back to where exactly we are with our good old friends here at the Torchlighters. Now, overall, I'd say that the Torchlighters, moving back over to the title card, that the Torchlighters is overall just a very boring, a very generic Christian cartoon. It wasn't as generic as I thought it would be. Again, I thought it would just be stories from the Bible. That's literally all I thought this show would be. But the fact that it still has that generic art style you see in every Christian hand-drawn cartoon, it has all the same morals, and it has just horrific voice acting and animation, and all of it is just the prime example of a bad, mediocre Christian piece of media. It's one of those shows that says, we're Christian, so we don't have to try. That's it. It is an insult to Christians who want good pieces of content, quality pieces of good Christian, God-fearing content that they can show their families. And it is an insult to animation for just being bad. But anyway, guys, that will be it for this video. What did you guys think of the Torchlighters? Please let me know down in the comments below. And also, what do you guys think of this video? Is it pretty good? Have you guys been enjoying Christians in July? We only have one more video left, and it's a theater talk, so be on the lookout for that next week. Also, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified on when future videos are uploaded. But until then, I will see you later. Bye!